Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon for media availability with MLSE President and CEO Keith Pelley following today's Raptors leadership change announcement. Immediately following Keith's opening remarks, we'll open it up to questions from the audience, and will be mics on either side of the room there, so please just raise your hand. We'll identify the reporter to ask questions, and Phil and Josh will bring a microphone to you. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Keith Pelley.
Okay, thanks, David. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I apologize for a Friday afternoon of a long weekend, but I felt that, and I felt the need to come and see you all face to face and have a discussion about our announcement earlier today. Today's not an easy day, but as you know, change is never easy. Masai Ujiri has had a monumental impact on the Raptors and on our community during his 13 seasons with this organization. His legacy will be indelibly etched in our city in perpetuity based on him playing such a significant role in bringing the 2019 NBA championship to our city, and also how he transformed our brand and worked through the Raptors to create a connection with so many fans in Toronto. We owe Masai a great deal of gratitude, and I wish him the very best moving forward. One thing we know, wherever Masai ends up, he will be successful. So why now? Why the timing now? So Masai and I spoke over a month ago, and he asked that if a change were to happen, that it was post-draft. And that made the most sense. Not to disrupt the draft process. You know, we were holding the 9th pick, a top 10 pick, and of course, Masai's, not only his area of passion, but his area of expertise. He's prolific when it comes to the draft, and we were grateful to have him as the person with Bobby leading our draft. You know, we talked last night about Colin Murray-Boyles, and he said, Murray-Boyles is going to be something special, Keith, and you're going to enjoy watching him develop over the many years to come. 13 seasons is an extremely long time in a sports leadership role. As I said, change is inevitable. And what we really thought is, with the current status of our team and the foundation that, well, Masai has built, that this was the time to make the change. The roster is in place. All our players are signed at the luxury tax limit. The front office is renewed, including General Manager Bobby Webster. And we have great coaching stability led by Darko. So we're now going to turn our attention to search for a new team president, and we'll be working with CAA beginning on that later on this afternoon. Now, the question has come over and over again is we didn't bring in a new president for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but we are bringing in a new president for the Raptors. What is the difference? You may remember that during the news conference just a month ago, I talked about there not being a preset formula for structures for teams. Different teams have different structures, different needs, and they're in different areas of their evolution. And with the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know, one game from the conference final, and with Brad Treliving and the team moving forward, we didn't feel the need for a president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. With the evolution of where the Toronto Raptors are in the middle of a rebuild, we felt that we needed to bring in a president. And as a result, we will start that search immediately, as I mentioned. So once again, I want to thank Masai for incredible 13 years, a brilliant journey, and congratulate him on all his success, and most importantly, for winning a championship and creating a culture and a brand and really an organization that, and a foundation that it is our job now going forward to build upon. And no doubt, that's a big challenge, but we're ready for it. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Doug Smith.
Hi, Keith. Doug Smith of the Toronto Star. What do you hope to find in a new president that you don't have in the president that just left?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, and we've talked about that, and that is a question right now that we've poised. Not even a question, some of the answers and some of the thoughts, and although they were confidential, that we've discussed with CAA. Obviously, whoever comes into that position has massive shoes to fill, so it will need to be a prominent, successful business leader.
Mike Grange.
Keith, Michael Grange from Rogers Sportsnet. Masai had a year left on his contract, and I'm just wondering, was there a financial implication here, why it needed to be done, and what you can tell us on that front?
Well, I think there are major factors that go into a decision at this large, but the primary reason in this case was the situation and where we currently are in basketball operations. As I talked about, the stability with our roster, the stability with our front office, and the stability with our coaching staff. And that allowed us to make a decision to move forward.
Josh.
Hi, Keith. Josh Lewinberg, TSN. Will Bobby be considered for the president job? And if it's not an internal candidate, how appealing will the job be, do you think, for an external candidate with a general manager and a leadership team already in place and extended?
Well, the first question is Bobby will be a candidate, and we've already talked about that. So he will be interviewed. And I think the president of an NBA franchise is always appealing. So I don't think that we will have any challenges whatsoever finding a strong, prominent businessman with an in-depth background in basketball operations. But as I said before, we're definitely hiring a president of basketball operations, and Bobby will definitely be a candidate.
Ryan.
Hey, Keith, right here. Ryan Wolstad, Toronto Sun. I'm just curious what you would say to the basketball fans in this country who might have some concerns that a very passionate basketball person in Masai is leaving, and with looming ownership changes, another very passionate basketball person in Larry Tannenbaum as well down the line?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what your question is, because if you're talking about passion, I think that what at least I've learned is anybody that is working in the front office of any professional operation has unwavering passion for their role. Masai had it, Bobby has it, Brad Treliving had it, Brendan Shanahan has it, Jason Hernandez has it. When you have the opportunity and the privilege of having that role, you have an unwavering passion. I go back to 2004, and I saw it for the first time when I had an opportunity to work with General Manager Adam Rita. And at 76 years old, when I ran into him just a couple of months ago, he still has that passion. People that work in sports and work at the highest level have the passion. So I would say to the fans that we will find somebody that unequivocally will have the passion to bring another NBA championship to this city. And that is our goal. When I arrived in April of 2024, I repeatedly asked the board, what was the definition of success for myself? How was I going to be judged? And that was on building championships, on winning championships. And I think that whoever comes into this role, that will be their key focus. Just like that's the key focus of Brad, and that will be the key focus of anybody that comes into this position.
Eric.
Eric Corrine from The Athletic. Keith, you said you spoke to Masai a month ago or so. Was that when he was told the change would be happening?
I think Masai and I have been chatting for the, probably the last couple of months, last 2 or 3 months, about the future. And so we've had a number of conversations over that time.
And when was he told firmly this was the decision?
We talked earlier at the beginning of this month.
And what were your impressions of how he took that news?
I think Masai is a professional, and so he took it as such. And I think that Masai, no doubt, will be speaking in the coming days, and you can ask him that question directly.
Steve?
Keith, Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun. Did you make this decision, or did Edward Rogers make this decision?
This was my decision, supported by the board.
John?
Keith, John Chidley Hill with the Canadian Press. You said, obviously, Bobby has been extended. What were those conversations like? Obviously, he and Masai had a close relationship, and Masai's departure, and then he's negotiating a contract. What were those conversations like with Bobby?
They were very amicable, and Bobby and I had a number of positive conversations. I have a ton of time for Bobby. He has incredible integrity. He knows the ins and outs of basketball and the luxury tax as good as anybody does in the league based on his time at the league office. So no, they were very good conversations.
In the back on the left.
Joseph Cacharo, The Score. Keith, you spoke of the brand transformation that happened under Masai. Is there any concern that some of that brand luster will be lost with him? And then just a quick follow-up also, how involved in the day-to-day basketball operations do you want the team president compared to the general manager, say?
Well, I think the team president will be very involved in the basketball operations, and we'll need to work very closely with Bobby. So the answer is his or her focus will be 100% on basketball operations. We have a number of centers of excellence based on the plethora of teams that we have. So him worrying about commercials or tickets is not going to be a priority. It will be focused entirely on basketball operations. What was your first question again? Oh yeah. Well, you know, yeah, let's give Masai tremendous accolades for creating a brand and a culture. But the testament to that brand and the testament to a culture is how it lives once that individual is gone. And I believe that the culture and the brand that he has created will flourish because that's the way that he would have wanted it to flourish. But when you create a brand, when you create a culture, if it is mitigated when that individual is no longer involved, then the culture and the brand has not been created in the right way. And I believe that the way that he has built the brand and the way that he has created the culture is something that we, as an organization at MLSE, cherish and need now to build upon. And that will be something critical for the next president coming in.
Adrian?
Keith, Adrian Gobriel, CTV National News. Keith, you're in the business of winning. What has led you and the board at MLSE to believe that the Raptors are better positioned to win without Masai than with him?
Well, I think winning is very difficult, and it's hard. And you know, when you think about it, there's 30 MLS teams, there's 30 NBA teams, there's 32 NHL teams. That's 3 chances out of 92 teams. So winning is hard regardless. So you have to have every piece of the puzzle. And I can't unequivocally answer your question right now because I don't know the answer. But as I said, change is inevitable, and sometimes getting in front of it is necessary, and we just seized the opportunity at this particular time with where we are in the evolution of the rebuild to make a move that hopefully now will build on what is a real young, aggressive team that Bobby and Masai has built and a foundation that he has built. And so somebody is coming in the midst of a rebuild and will hopefully expedite that and bring us to a new level quickly.
Hi, Keith. Aaron Rose on SI. It sounds like you guys were happy with Masai being in charge of the draft, and it sounds like you're happy with the direction of the rebuild and the retool. So I'm struggling to understand why it was felt like it was needed to make a change given your happiness level with the rest of the roster.
Well, I think the discussion with Masai and, is a discussion that is obviously private between the two of us. But the fact that he led the draft shows Masai's integrity and our trust and belief that he always and will always have the best interest at heart for the Raptors. I can't say it any more times than there are many factors that came into this decision, and the timing was right to make a change. And we believe that with the stability in all of the areas that I've outlined multiple times, that gave us the opportunity to do such, and that's what we've done.
We have time for 3 more questions.
Hi, Keith. This is Will Liu from the Nation Network. I wanted to ask you 2 things. Number one, you mentioned stability a few times, but obviously to the outside, it is a little confusing if you want stability to change the leadership at the very top. Was there any indication, I know you've spoken about from your perspective, but maybe from Masai, that he was also looking for a change as well?
Well, that's a better question for Masai, but I would say, no, you have strong stability throughout the organization. You have stability at MLSE. You have an ownership group that is ready to invest, has been very public with that. I think now our focus is finding the right president to build on the culture, to build on the brand, to build on the foundation that we have in place.
And just to follow up on something else you said earlier about potentially expediting the rebuild under a new president, is there a specific urgency that you see for this team that has been rebuilding but not back to the playoffs in a while? Do you see a specific urgency to get back to that point?
I think the urgency is to find the right person, right? So we are not, if we are able to find the right person next week, fantastic. If that is next month, that's okay too, and if it's in 2 months, that's okay. That's our number one priority, is finding the right person that can get us back to contending and winning championships. And that is a luxury that we have based on the likes that we have Dan Tolzman as our Director of Player Personnel, that we have Bobby Webster in the general manager role. And that gives us the flexibility that we need. But we're certainly not going to rush into anything just so that we have a president. But if it happens quickly, it happens quickly. And if it takes 2 months, it takes 2 months.
On the left here.
Adam Lascaris from Daily Hive. You've been in this job for a little bit over a year now, and a lot of your press conferences have been ones like this. They've been hirings. They've been people being let go. I'm wondering, what sort of legacy do you feel like you've built so far in your little time here, and what do you want your legacy to be sort of whenever you're done with this job?
Well, I don't believe in a legacy for myself. I believe legacies belong to the likes of Winston Churchill and Shakespeare. They don't belong to Keith Pelley, the CEO of MLSE. My role is to do the best I possibly can and to contend for championships on an annual basis. We have 4 teams. It's obviously a little easier to do such with the Canadian Football League, but the other 3 teams, it's tough, it's hard, and I'm committed to it, to building the right culture and the right competitive players to contend and to win championships. And that's the way that I'll be judged, and that's the way that I should be judged. And in order for that, then you have to be prepared to make some tough decisions. You have to be prepared to make change. Change is hard. It really is hard. And this decision today is hard. It's a tough decision. But I think it's the right decision for the Raptors at this time. And I will continue to make decisions that I think are right for the organizations that put us in the best opportunity to win.
Mike?
Keith, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. You know, if you are around the NBA, the two people most associated with the Raptors are Larry Tannenbaum at an ownership level and Masai Ujiri from, you know, the front office level. That those are the people that interacted with new players, with the prominent agents. That kind of really, not to say other people didn't do a lot of work, but who is going to be the face of this team? Who are going to be the people that people around the NBA associate with the Raptors going forward?
Well, Michael, you know the respect that Bobby Webster has around the league, and the relationship that he has with the general managers. And when you look at not only this year, but in previous years, he has often been the spokesperson for key trades, key moves, free agency deals. So you have a prominent person there right now. But we are hiring another president. Whether that's Bobby is to be determined. But we're not hiring a president and a general manager. We're hiring a president, and we will have a general manager. So the president, as I said, will be an experienced. We're looking for an experienced, prominent, strong, successful personality. So I think that Masai and Larry have been both two incredible ambassadors for the Raptors. Larry is the chair in emeritus for MLSE, and I hope wherever Masai ends up, I know he'll be successful, but at the same time, I hope he's still silently cheering for the Raptors.
Last question in the back row here.
Hi, Keith. Thomas Dagg, CBC News back here. Just to follow up on a question from earlier, you said that this was your decision supported by the board. How much influence does Edward Rogers have on a decision like this?
I think all board members on all major decisions supply input. But at the end of the day, they look for the input and the direction and the strategy of where the team is going through their CEO. That was the role, and that was the reason they brought me in, or they wanted to bring somebody in that oversaw the teams. So they all have input, but at the end of the day, this was my decision supported by the board.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, everybody. That concludes today's media availability.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Sorry about a long weekend.